Welcome in to the opening line report. Kelly Stewart here. As you can tell, there are some palm trees behind me. I'm on vacation. We're going to pray for good Wi-Fi. And Teddy got his prayers answered yesterday. What's a better way to start on a hot streak than to get the brooms out and have a nice sweep for NFL Sunday? So congratulations to you. Teddy, we're going to also get into what did bettors learn from yesterday. We're going to have a myriad of emergency betting alerts, it looks like, just looking at the odds logic screen headed into today. So we're going to get right into it. Monday Night Football, you've got a client play up as well as a free play video.
Yeah. It's the same play. You can get it for free, or you can become a client and get it for free. But it's posted right now on my page, wt.buzz/TC. I am betting tonight's game. It's not just an opinion. So check out the video. It's right here on YouTube, or visit my homepage, wt.buzz/TC, to see who I like tonight and who I've advised my clients to bet for the season.
Okay, well, then I'm just going to interject here and make it all about myself because I need to know what to do. I've got 4 legs closing with the Philadelphia Eagles from teasers from yesterday. Plus 8.5, great number. In theory, I sat back. I just did my job. But now some really cheap money lines for the Packers coming up. I've seen as low as minus 115 here on the odds logic screen. Should I go for the middle with the teaser because the public is so heavy on Philly? It's making me a little uneasy about thinking, oh yeah, no worries, Philly can keep it within a touchdown or so.
So whenever we're talking about hedging, all right, there's one thing that is the first. It's really the first decision that the first thought process that I have. Do I still like my original bet? If you still like your original bet, if you still think your original bet's a winner, then you don't need to do anything. Certainly not pre-flop, not before kickoff. After kickoff, you may decide, hey, it's time to hedge. I may not hedge, but as long as you still, there's nothing worse than turning a winner into a push because you felt like hedging. So if you like your original bet, hold it. Now that you're in a position where your payout, what's your return on this teaser, Kel?
So I've got 4 legs, pretty close to 8 dimes.
So, but I mean, in terms of, are you getting back 2 to 1? Are you getting 6 to 1? I mean, what's your?
No, they're 2 leg teasers, minus 110. So
okay, so it's
2,200 to win 2,000 on each one of them.
So it's not like a parlay scenario where you can hedge back a little bit to ensure that you lock in a profit or lock in a not loss. Here's a situation: if you're hedging away your profit. So that's a personal decision. It's based a lot on how much you have in your bankroll and how much bankroll management you need to worry about and how much you like your original wager.
Yeah, I like it a little bit less. I opened up the Pickett app this morning and saw almost 75% of the tickets and 75% of the money line on the Eagles. Again, though, I feel like I have a good number. Maybe I just want to get rid of some of my position at minus 115 there on the Packers. And hey, we may see pick a minus 110 by kickoff. I also have a minus 105 account, so I'm going to sit back and kind of wait. Not very happy looking at you. It's snowing here in New York. Kelly, sorry, Jeff, but we're going to get into what did bettors learn last week. Hey, morning game, Teddy, looked great. I was happy with the results. Afternoon, fave and over. Talk to me about what we saw last week in NFL and how we're going to carry that over into this week.
Sure. I mean, there was just with the headlines from NFL Sunday. The biggest survivor pick again went down. Carolina. The Bills were third as the survivor. So we're down to out of the 17,000 plus at circa, we're down to exactly 1,000 going into tonight. We talked about Colts Falcons. We did something right last week. If you listened to us, we talked about an emergency betting alert. If you like Indy, get them right now at minus 5.5. It mattered, that half point. At 6, you pushed. At 6.5, you didn't. You took a loss. So I'm very pleased that, and I expect it to happen I think it's happened once already this year, where, if you turn 2 losses out of 100 into pushes, 2 pushes out of 100 into wins, it makes an enormous difference to your bankroll. And that's what the emergency-related betting alerts are all about. Maybe one time in 20, it's going to matter. But that one time in 20 is going to matter a lot when you add them up over the course of a season. So with Colts Falcons, look, if you lost betting Indy Atlanta on the side, you need to work on your betting skills because everybody's supposed to either win or push whichever side they bet in that ball game. Not a good result for the house. Another week, another insane comeback. This time the Texans coming back from the dead against the Jags. We've had a fair few of those in recent weeks. That was after Bears, Bengals, and after Broncos, Giants the 2 previous weeks. So We're getting one every single week, it feels. A game that's just insane. Drunk game, as we used to call them. And, of course, the interception return for touchdown on the last play that really didn't affect side or total, but it might have affected teaser bettors a little bit. You can only see that. Not to mention the cardiac kid Bears, who came back from the dead. We saw weather steam, Chicago and the Giants. That under was 47, got bet down to 44.5, landed 44. The weather steam won there. But the 3 afternoon games, you talked about it, favorite and over, and all 3 favorite covered again last night with the Chargers. That leaves a fair bit of liability for the sports books right now when it comes to Monday Night Football. I don't know if tonight's the night I'd want to be on a particularly public side for Monday night.
All right, Teddy, Thursday Night Football. The Patriots get it done again. My best bet on it was the Bucs, and I knew it was dead in the water come kickoff. Luckily, I did have the Patriots in a bunch of teasers, so it wasn't near as painful. But Drake May, wow, just wow. New York Jets, on the other hand, they get their 2nd win of the season. This is a lot of points in a divisional game.
Yeah, it's. But that being said, there are things not to like about the Jets. So with all these, every game, every week, I'm going to give you 4 sets of numbers. I give you what I call the look-ahead line. These are the numbers from the Westgate Superbook. I think I wrote them down last Wednesday. So Westgate numbers from the last week to tell us how much the lines have changed based on just this last week's result. I'll give you my powering number for the contest. That does not involve situations. It's only Team A, Team B, home field. I'll give you the open numbers from last night, and then we'll talk about where the line has moved this morning. So the Patriots open, look at line, 10.5, 45.5 against the Jets. My powering number comes New England 11.5. Last night, the markets were 10.5, 11, 11.5, 12, all over the map, total 45. What we've seen this morning, the markets have consolidated at 11.5. We've seen under money, pretty significant under money, 43.5 now, the total for New England and New York. And I considered emergency betting alert this total down even more. I would not be shocked to see it go down 43, 42.5, 42. But really, we already missed 45s and 44. So I'm not convinced it's going to go down that much more. And I mean, look, the Jets won a game yesterday where Justin Fields had 42 net passing yards. That's hard to do. You know, they had 14 dropbacks from Justin Fields. And those out of those 14 dropbacks to pass, they had one play longer than 4 yards. Of course, that play was a pass to Breece Hall, who took it to the house. But when you read the quotes out of the Jets, and again, so they had a punt return touchdown, they had a kick return touchdown in the same ball game yesterday. And when you hear the quotes from Steve Wilks talking about all the young guys the Jets plan on playing, you know, first-year players, second-year players, there's like 9 of them that are all expected to get ample playing time. You know, Steve Wilks, well, we can win with that. They had 6 sacks yesterday. So the Jets' youth movement has paid dividends. Their offense still struggling. As for New England, I mean, the NFL is a playmakers league. All right. And yesterday, what'd they do? 72-yard touchdown for Williams. Henderson, 55-yard touchdown. Henderson, 69-yard touchdown. Hollins, 54-yard completions. 4 huge plays. That was the difference in the ballgame. And this is a Patriots team that's lacked those big play weapons in every recent season. That's not the case in 2025. That's at least a part of the reason why when people talk about their schedule. Well, you know, now they're beating Tampa Bay in Tampa. They beat Buffalo in Buffalo. It's a Patriots team who I bet under their season win total. And I'm going to lose that bet on Thursday night. That'll be the first season win. The Colts have already cashed a 1 over. Patriots will be the second over to cash well before Thanksgiving.
All right, we're going to head back to Europe in the international series. Madrid this time, Teddy. The Washington Commanders take on the Miami Dolphins. Washington, yesterday, I was watching Last Call with Errol Epstein and John Murray. And John Murray said Washington was going to be their biggest need. And here in Aruba, I found a 9.5, and I felt so sharp. Let me tell you, I did my job. Yeah, well, guess what? The Commanders sure as hell didn't.
And the markets are crashing on Washington right now. Make no mistake about it. You know, it's very clear. Look headline here. Washington minus 1.5 in Madrid, total 46. My powering number came pick'em. Markets opened last night. Miami 2 and 47.5. So note, that's a 3.5 point move, not injury related. Just this is what Washington did this week. This is what Miami did this week. Boom, 3.5 point move. That is fairly significant. And the 2s are mostly gone. Now I'm seeing 2.5s out there. for Miami. 47.5, the current total hasn't really moved a whole lot. Marcus Mariota at 9.7 yards per pass attempt, but you can't win games with a backup quarterback when you're allowing 226 on the ground. Remember, this defense, they put a ton of resources in the defense in the offseason. Big free agent dollars. It is the oldest team in the league. In the last 4 weeks, Commanders 31st in the NFL in yards allowed, 31st in the NFL in points allowed. They gave up 8.8 yards per play when Jared Goff and the starters were on the field in that ball game. And we saw, Darren Payne get ejected. There's frustration for Washington right now. And certainly when you think about a team that was expected to compete, last year they made the NFC Championship game. They're expected to compete for big things this year. Now they're 3-7, playing with a backup quarterback, going to Madrid for a week. The markets are saying that warrants a 3.5-point move over what we thought this team was going to be, especially with Miami showing up yesterday. They're 2-1 straight up the last 3 games. They haven't quit on their coach. They haven't quit on their season. Mike McDaniel, I think it's pretty obvious from the play they didn't believe their season was over. That's difficult to do when everyone's talking about you and everyone's talking about the season being over. That being said, they lost 7 in a row to Buffalo. Felt like yesterday's game was circled for Miami. The quote, every time you win in the NFL, that's special. But given the times we played Buffalo in the past and have gotten close and have gotten blown out, I think this one definitely makes it that much more special that it was against Buffalo. They've had our number for years. That's a Tua quote, which tells me that was the game they were looking for, which means laying a price in Madrid with a team like Miami coming off a win. I don't know if I'm going to get there. I'll leave it at that.
All right, Teddy, I was just looking on X to see if Jackson Dart was going to be available for this one. The Packers play tonight. Now they're a sizable road favorite at the New York Giants, who had, multiple opportunities to beat the Bears yesterday. Russell Wilson, though, I knew it was over when I saw number 3 in the game.
So did you find anything on Dart? Because I didn't see anything. I haven't seen anything yet. It's still early for what we're going to know about Jackson Dart. Obviously, Jackson Dart's status will affect the point spread, but maybe not as much as you think. The difference between Dart and Russell Wilson, a point maybe, in terms of the markets, maybe a little bit more, but I wouldn't expect. I don't see a significant drop off in the betting markets, and of course, it's going to depend on what Green Bay looks like tonight. Look headline here: Packers -7, total of 46. My powering number 7.5 for Green Bay. Last night at the Open, there were 7.5, 8, and 8.5. Total 44.5, and total still sitting at 44.5 right now. The markets still have mostly 8.5s out there. For Green Bay. And let me make it really clear. The Packers are going to be on the road off a Monday night football game against Philly. It's a near guaranteed flat spot if they win. The Packers at -6 or higher this year. They lost straight up to Carolina. They lost straight up to Cleveland. They failed to cover against Arizona. They failed to cover against Cincinnati. They failed to cover against Dallas. That's 0-5 ATS in this point spread range. They have consistently played down to the level of competition. So Green Bay is not likely to be on my short list, win or lose tonight. Obviously, Jackson Dart hurt, and they had a 17-10 lead when Russell Wilson came in the ballgame. Russell Wilson got him down to the 1-yard line and then couldn't put it in. Brian Duvall. We have confidence in Russ, but you never want to see any of your guys going down. And of course, the Giants still can't stop the run. 171 yards on the ground, 6.1 yards per carry. Now they're a 2-8 team. They've lost 4 in a row. And let's not forget, they've led by double digits against Dallas, New Orleans, Denver, Chicago, and they lost all 4 of those games. Yesterday they were up by 10 minutes with less than 5 minutes to play and found a way to lose it. Give up a touchdown, go 3 and out, shank a punt, and then allow another game-winning touchdown. Certainly the Giants right now, and again, we'll see what happens with Dart this week, but the Giants are a team who is playing competitively, but still finding ways to lose.
Yeah, that is frustrating to have teams like that, especially from a point spreads perspective there, Teddy. Next one up is going to be the Bucs headed to Buffalo. Both teams just absolutely got worked yesterday. Like I said, I knew before kickoff, Bucs was going to be a bad bet, and I was going to get off of it in some form or fashion or another. But the Bills was really just the shocker, not only from a survivor standpoint, but just flat out. I kept thinking, all right, here come the Bills. 1 touchdown, and the rest of the fourth quarter, I was sitting around all these Bills fans here in Aruba going,
yeah, what was that?
Just a jaw drop. They were in awe.
It was a true no-show for Buffalo yesterday. I'll talk about it in just a second. Look headline here: Bills -6, total 50.5. My powering number: Bills -4.5. The markets opened 5.5, 50.5 last night. And yeah, we got to do it right now. Our first emergency betting alert of the show. Like under, find a 50 right now. I'm seeing 49.5s out there. I'm seeing 49 starting to pop. It looks to me like this total is going to get bet down, and I'm not surprised when you consider Tampa playing in Buffalo in November. When you think about what the Bills defense did when they allowed 197 yards to 6.2 yards per carry yesterday. Again, if you like this total under, you can get 50 right now. I'm not convinced that's going to be there an hour, 2 hours, 2 days from now. So under is our emerging betting alert for Buffalo and Tampa. Baker Mayfield, after the loss yesterday, quote, offensively, I'm hoping our guys do get pissed off about this. This isn't the end of our season. I know that. We still have very important games ahead of us. But games like this, when you don't win them, it should sting. It should really hurt. He said they were lacking in killer instinct yesterday. And, of course, I talked a minute ago about the Patriots' explosive plays, 4 of them of 50 yards plus yesterday. Well, they all came up against Tampa's defense. So, worth noting, the Bucs in 2024, they had a 4-game midseason losing streak. In 2023, they had a 4-game midseason losing streak. Those are straight up. Now, what happened in the end? They won the division in both of those years. 1.5 game lead over Carolina right now after yesterday's loss. Worth noting, they played the Panthers week 16 and week 18. So for all the urgency for the Bucs, I don't know there is that much urgency for the Bucs necessarily. As for Buffalo, we talked about it. That was a true no-show game. They didn't score a point till the fourth quarter. Huge letdown off that Kansas City win against a team that they've owned. They won the previous 7 meetings against Miami. They just beat their arch rival, or their playoff rival in Kansas City, and they came out and played. They laid an egg. Josh Allen after the game, quote, they wanted it obviously a little bit more than us. I've got to be better. We got to be better in the protection game, in the pass game, blah, blah, blah. Anytime you turn it all over 3 times, it's a recipe for disaster. But to hear that, the starting quarterback say, yeah, they wanted it more than us. You don't hear that quote every week. The last time the Bills lost, they lost at the Pats at home on Monday, Sunday Night Football. They lost again the next week at Atlanta. We'll see if they can to prevent 1 loss from turning into 2 here. Tampa's going to be every bit as hungry as they are.
Yeah, I already have the Bucs written down as my spot to look for to back. That's usually how it works for me, Teddy. I bet on a team, they lay an egg, and then I should run it back the next week. Speaking of laying an egg, the Pittsburgh Steelers, our producer Dan told me he fell asleep during the game last night. They take on their divisional rival, the Cincinnati Bengals, this week. Break down this one for me, because I don't know what to make of the Steelers here.
Yeah, I wasn't falling asleep. I was convinced that the Chargers were going to find a way to blow it. And then Dicker missed that field goal, and I'm like, oh boy, here we go. We're going to sweat. But Pittsburgh ended up, the Chargers ended up closing out my sweep yesterday, which was very nice for the clients and I. And by the way, guys, if you like this type of content, please give us a like. That's really all we ask for. Comment below. Both Kelly and I get in the comments throughout the course of the week. We'll answer as many as we can. And of course, if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the WagerTalk YouTube channel. We're approaching 250,000 subscribers now. And the reason we got all these subscribers, we put out kick-ass content every single day. Get instant alerts every time these videos go live. Check it out. Again, subscribe to WagerTalk TV on YouTube. Cincinnati and Pittsburgh. Look headline, Steelers -6, total of 50. My powering number, Steelers -5. Markets last night, there was a mix of 5 and 5.5s at 50, although it's not a true proper market because Pittsburgh was playing at the time. And that's basically what we're seeing right now, 5.5, 50/50.5 for Pittsburgh and Cincy. And certainly, it's a Bengals team that that truly found a way to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. Before their bye week, if you remember, they got to recover the onside kick, rally back from 2 touchdowns down to beat Chicago. Except for that, they left Chicago with like 30 seconds, and that was enough against Cincinnati's defense. 47-42. They lost that game and went on by Zach Taylor afterwards. It's sick. It's sick to lose like that. It's what happens, so we got to own it. And again, they became the first team in 59 years to score 38 points or more in back-to-back games and lose them both. And boy, it felt like there was a pretty – the locker room was here's a quote from Chase Brown. We put the ball in the end zone and go up in the lead again. Finish the effing game. Just end it. Like, that's it. That's what we need to do. Just end the effing game. Make them give us the ball back. Let's go to 22 victory. Let's end the game. That's how I feel. That's throwing your defense under the bus, my friends. The best performance of Flacco's 18-year NFL career. maybe he's rested now. Has a chance to learn the offense a little bit better. Rushing yards in that ball game, by the way, Chicago 283, Cincy 46. As for Pittsburgh, Aaron Rodgers turns 42 next month. He sure looked it last night. I'll leave it at that.
Shots fired, Teddy covers. Shots fired.
So every quarterback gets old eventually. Warren Moon got old eventually. Tom Brady got old eventually. Peyton Manning got old. That last year where Manning was, he was a corpse.
It didn't matter. He still won a Super Bowl.
Really yeah, I know. The team around him was unbelievable. The defense around him was unbelievable.
That is exactly what that was. Yeah. All right, let's keep on moving this one along. Houston taking on Tennessee. Teddy, what do you look for when teams won in such an insane fashion like the Houston Texans did? Like you said, they were dead on arrival and were able to somehow win that football game.
So Denver rallied from 33 down against the Giants, or 32 down against the Giants, and managed to win again the next week. We saw Chicago in that crazy win against Cincinnati that I just talked about, rally to win again the next week. I wouldn't put, momentum. Momentum's a fickle mistress. I'll leave it at that. Sometimes, they got momentum. Yes. Well, we'll see how much momentum Miami has when they travel to Madrid this week. To me, that's the ultimate. One team has momentum, one team doesn't. I tend to think that momentum is overrated in the betting markets. Momentum lasts as long as your team plays well. That being said, Houston, look at line, -7.5 total. There was 37.5 and 38.5 out there for the total for the Texans and the Titans. My parity number came 8. The markets opened 7.5, 38 last night, which is right between the 37.5 and 38.5. We are seeing over money coming in on this one. Fairly significant over money. Enough over money right now to say, Dan, let's light up another emergency betting alert. If you like over it right now, okay, Houston, Tennessee, you can still find 38.5 out there. There are 39s out there. Looks like it's going to 40 plus. Texans flew over the total yesterday. The Titans have cost 4 straight losses since their only win of the season in that miracle game against Arizona and coming off a bye. Again, they were 27-20. They lost to the Chargers for the bye. They had 10 first downs, 206 yards of total offense. They had a pick six and a punt return touchdown and still lost by a TD. But the markets expect Tennessee, rookie QB, extra time to repair. They expect this offense to be a little bit better with that extra week off. You tend to see that learning curve for the rookie QBs. In general, you like them off a bye. As for the Texans, they trailed 29-10 in the fourth quarter. But Nico Collins, he made Davis Mills look real good yesterday. Houston finished 4 of 5 in the red zone, 10 of 15 on third downs, yards per play edge 6.0 to 3.9. Outgained by more than 2 yards per play. Will Anderson, keep showing up, keep fighting, never quit. Danielle Hunter, who had a monster game. We just locked in. I felt we had the feeling the whole game we were going to come out on top. D'Amico Ryans. I look at the game as I look at life. Bad things are going to happen. Do you hang your head and go run and hide? Do you quit? Do you give up? No, you got to keep punching. In life and football, you got to keep punching. And that's what this game showed today. The key to the entire game was no one blinked. So that makes Houston a team that are interested in these pick'em type games. I don't know if that makes Houston a good favorite in the -7/-7.5 range. Worth noting, the 7.5s look like it's a split line right now. I think that the books that cater to recreational bettors may have 7.5s all week. The sharp books don't anymore, for what that's worth.
All right, that is definitely worth something because I was already considering teasing the Texans. Shocker, I know everybody is surprised. Bears, Vikings, Teddy. The Vikings were a stinker of a pick by me yesterday. I just was not impressed with them, especially at home. Was that more of an indication that it was the Vikings, or maybe we'll talk about the Ravens here in just a few minutes?
So it's funny because I do power ratings for every team every week, and I adjust my numbers. And I think about them. It's not. I don't. There's no formula for me. It's something that I think about, and I look at some stats, and I look at some track record, and game logs and all that kind of stuff. And I spend time. And the Minnesota Vikings powering number, in particular, was the one. And every week there's one or two that I'm like I really think about for a little while. And Minnesota's where I'm not 100% confident in my number. Minnesota's right. That I ended up splitting the difference between the Vikings. I'm not sure how good the Vikings are. I don't know if they're sure how good they are right now. Their team had the most difficulty with in creating a PR number. Look headline, Vikings -3, 46.5. My powering number, again, I split the difference and put it in the middle of where I was thinking. Ended up with Minnesota -2. The markets opened 3 with some 2.5s last night, total of 46. And look what we're seeing today. 3s, 2.5s. The markets hadn't decided which is better for this one. Total's been bet up like crazy. 48, 48.5. I had emergency betting alert, but I think it's gone already. Once you're on the wrong side of 48, that's one that if you didn't get it early, you didn't get it. Because Chicago is a dead nuts over team. The markets realize that even though yesterday's game finished with 44 points in the conditions, you have 171 rushing yards at 6.1 yards per carry and they gained 171 rushing yards. They allowed 169 rushing yards at 5.6 yards per carry. And when you can't stop the run, they're going to bet the over. That being said, for the last 6 games, Caleb Williams has led them to come from behind wins late in the fourth quarters. They beat Vegas, they beat Washington, they beat Cincy last week, they beat the Giants this week. Quote, it does build confidence. Doesn't matter where we're deficit we're at. Doesn't matter how much we're up. Doesn't matter what happened throughout the game. We came through as a team. That's what we did today. Ben Johnson, quote, they have this belief that we're going to find a way in the fourth quarter. Provided it's somewhat close, we're going to find a way to come on top of this thing. It's week in and week out that they're proving that. CJ Gardner-Johnson, quote, we got some ballers. We're ready to make a push. Certainly a confident team right now. And for Minnesota, bizarre game plan in a sense that they're not going to win with J.J. McCarthy dropping back 43 times and being the team's leading rusher and the running backs combining for just 13 carries. That's not the recipe for success. 8 false start penalties at home. That's on the quarterback. That's on the offense, not being in sync with one another. They outgained Baltimore by a yard, 1.1 yards per play. But you committed 3 turnovers. The defense didn't force any. They got stopped 3 times on 4th down, and J.J. McCarthy's not very good right now. I don't know what to do with Minnesota. I'll probably pass them and pass on Vikings game until I have a better read on this team.
Very fair point. A couple of teams that I also don't know what to do with here. You've got the Carolina Panthers taking on the Atlanta Falcons. I was heavy on the Carolina Panthers coming into the season. I thought this was a year they could take a step forward. I thought they had a shot to win their division. Then they go into Lambeau, kind of shock everybody as a double-digit favorite, and then lay an egg at home to the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah, so look at line here, Atlanta, 3.5, total 44.5. My powering number, which does not factor into the situation. This is a very negative situation for Atlanta. My powering number has the Falcons 5 in this ballgame. The markets opened 3.5/4 last night, total 42.5/43. And looking at my odds logic live odds screen right now, markets is mostly 3.5. There's still a couple of 4s, but it's mostly 3.5. Total 42.5 for this ballgame. So we've seen under money, and we've seen the market settle with Atlanta 3.5. And given the situation, I mean, I get it. They're on a 4-game losing streak, no bye after a chip to Germany and an overtime loss. They're 3-6. The last 2 games they've lost on a missed extra point and then overtime. They've gone 3 of 29 on 3rd down conversions over the last 3 games. They forced 2 turnovers against Indy. They got 2 4th down stops. The Colts missed their 2-point conversion try. The Falcons made They had the Colts 3rd and 21 on the final drive of regulation, and they still found a way to lose the game even with all of that. In overtime, you've got a Colts penalty to get them started, but that was it. Panics couldn't move them. And you're not going to win many NFL games allowing 323 rushing yards or giving up 40 minutes of possession. Raheem Morris, we had plenty of opportunities to win it. We just got to find a way to get better, whether it's stopping the run, whether it's covering kicks better, returning the ball better, converting on 3rd down, all the things that kind of hurt us today. That, in my mind, not an inspiring quote. I'm not a Raheem Morris fan when it comes to NFL head coaches. That being said, I know what Carolina is. Carolina is a garbage team, all right? We talked about them on Bet On It last week as a team we wanted to sell in the stock watch section. And Bryce Young is playing like Justin Fields. Let's call it how it is. Right? He has 1 game all year with 200-plus passing yards. Last 3 games for Bryce Young, all in the 5 yards per pass attempt range. That's below backups. He's had at least 1 reception 4 times the last 5 games. Bryce Young, a mobile, dual-threat QB, right? He had 40 rushing yards week 1. Since week 1, he has a total of 38 rushing yards. Bryce Young's longest pass of the year, 40 yards. All right? And he was lucky yesterday. He had a roughing the passer penalty, wiped out an interception. There were 2 early tip passes that could have been picked as well. Rico Dowdle, 2.9 yards per carry. If they can't run, they can't win. But the last 4 weeks, 13 points, 9 points, 16 points, 7 points. This offense isn't working. Ted McMillan, the rookie, is the only receiver with 200 yards through 10 games. That means no one else on the team is averaging 20 receiving yards per game. Bryce Young after the contest, quote, "We know we're better than that as a team. Only get so many opportunities in this league and in life. Only get so many opportunities." Dave Canales, quote, "We didn't play our best version. We didn't play our version of football. That's not us. We can't have that. We can't pick up big plays and turn the ball over. Our offense has to be more opportunistic, blah, 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 blah." Carolina, not a team I'm excited about. In this one, but spot-wise, I do worry about Atlanta bouncing back off a pretty rough couple of weeks.
All right, a couple of interesting weeks, to say the least, for the Jacksonville Jaguars, right? Got lucky to get out of Las Vegas alive. Should have got out of Houston alive, but didn't. And we mentioned the Steelers-Chargers game last night. Teddy, it was a snooze fest. And Steelers didn't play well, but there was nothing really impressive outside of a couple of long passes and a couple of rushes from Justin Herbert that said that I think the Chargers should be warranted as road favorites here.
Look ahead line, anywhere, there were 1.5, there were 2, there were 2.5 for the Chargers, total 44.5. My powering number, and I thought there was lots to like about the Chargers last night, as LA -3. That's my powering number. The market's open 1.5 and 44 last night. And what are we seeing right now? We're seeing 2.5s with juice and 3s out there. That tells us one thing and one thing only. Dan, light it up. If you want the Chargers, I'm right to frick now. This line's going to 3. It's already there at many books. And if you haven't, if you don't get it, again, it's not like I know it's going to hold there, but it's sure going there. The Chargers, from a defensive standpoint, were brilliant in yesterday's ballgame. And that's the strength of this Chargers team, is on the defense side of the football. The other thing we like about the Chargers is Justin Herbert, who is a leader and a gutty player. And every quote out of the locker room is, "We believe in this guy, and this guy's leading us to victory." The opposite of the quotes that we're seeing from Aaron Rodgers at this stage of his career. So, and that's the only reason I had the Chargers last night. I'm like, I believe in this defense. I believe in this quarterback. And that's 2 things to like about LA. That being said, West Coast team traveling east for an early start game. There's always concerns about that. And the Jags, I mean, they're like 29-10 going to the 4th. They missed the 2-point conversion. That ended up looming very large. Trevor Lawrence, 28 dropbacks, 119 total yards. He was sacked 5 times. Jacoby Meyer, they got him on Tuesday from the Raiders. He ended up being their leading receiver. Liam Cohen looked pretty frustrated after the game. His coaches were really frustrated. You got a 19-point lead you can't hold on to. That's disappointing. That's really disappointing against a divisional opponent on the road where you're controlling the game for the majority of it, with all 3 phases having an impact. It's worth noting, since they beat Kansas City, thanks to the 99-yard pick 6 in week 5, they have 1 win. That came in overtime against the Raiders when the Raiders went for 2. Markets are saying the Jags aren't a good team, and I don't disagree with that. I think there's a class difference between these 2 squads. And again, if you like LA, bet them now at -2.5. Don't wait till it's -3 later in the week.
All right, let's stay in LA. We're going to go the Seattle Seahawks taking on their divisional rival, the LA Rams. Teddy, we keep hearing about Drake May. We keep hearing about Baker Mayfield. I feel like Sam Darnold is getting a little bit of rumblings, but he's so flying under the radar. I think he is playing out of his mind there in Seattle. And this Seahawks team, I'm speechless. Every time I bet against them, I'm going, why the hell did I do that?
Yep. I have a bet against the Seahawks in my season wins. And on paper, this team was going to get thrashed this year. And that has not been the case. Nothing more impressive than what their offensive line has done. They've won 4 times this year by 2 touchdowns or more. They have a plus 103-point differential. That's the second best in the NFL. Yesterday, they won 22 points despite 3 turnovers, 2 of which set up Arizona touchdowns. And again, games like yesterday's where there's 2 early defensive scores, they're up 35-0 by midway through the second. The box score doesn't tell you much. Most of the game was garbage time. Still, you got 198 yards on the ground in that contest. Look at line here, Rams -2.5, 48. My powering number, Rams -2. Markets open 2.5, 48.5 last night. And I'm seeing 2.5s for this one now. I'm not seeing many 3s. I'm not convinced it's going to get to 3. If it does get to 3, I think we'll see Seattle money at 3. This is one of those 2.75, where you're either going to see 3 with juice or 3 even money or 2.5 with juice all week. But I would not. I was debating at the emergency betting alert. Do you want the Rams? Get them in at 2.5. I don't think it's going to hold the 3 if it gets there. That being said, there's a lot to like about the Rams too. They scored touchdowns 6 of their first 8 drives of the game against San Francisco yesterday. Matthew Stafford set an NFL record, 3rd straight game with at least 4 touchdown passes and no picks. Quote, I was having a good time. I lose my mind when we score touchdowns. He leads the league with 25 touchdown passes. He's thrown 20 touchdowns with no interceptions over the last 6 games. Sean McVay. Stafford has just been total command. It's a continuation of a guy who really works his tail off throughout the course of the week. It looks like the game is really in slow motion to him right now. Those are bet on quotes, although Devontae Adams did leave yesterday's game with an injury. Check his status. He was hoping it wasn't going to force him to miss any time.
Teddy, last Sunday I was touting the Cardinals, and I said, no Kyler Murray, no problem. That was until this week where Jacoby Brissett got 2 sack fumbles for a touchdown against him, and I thought, oh boy, they miss Kyler now. San Francisco didn't look much better against the Rams. Now they play each other.
Look headline, San Fran -1, 47.5. My powering number, San Fran -1.5. The markets opened last night, San Fran -2.5/ -3, and we're pretty much seeing mostly 2.5s out. Mostly 3s out there. There are still a couple of 2.5s available. But the 49, for as bad as Arizona is, the 49ers injury report is disgusting on the defense side of the football. All right. Again, they gave up touchdowns 6 of the Rams' first 8 drives yesterday. George Kittle said last week, he said the Niners offense going to, quote, need to score a lot of points for the team to remain in postseason contention because of all the defensive injuries. Kyle Shanahan, quote, I'm never going to put it on one side of the ball, but obviously we are wounded at defense. Got more guys down over there. That does give the other side a bit more of an advantage. Obviously Nick Bosa's out, Fred Warner's out. They just lost their first-round rookie, Michael Williams, to a season-ending injury. They didn't make any additions at the trading deadline. Shanahan, quote, we knew it was going to be a big challenge going into L.A. We knew how good they are. We thought we could slow them down. We obviously didn't do that very well. So, there's a decent chance we could see Brock Purdy back this week. He's been active for 6 straight games. Mac Jones was fine yesterday. I don't blame the loss on Mac Jones. It's the 49ers defense that's a problem right now. And the markets are saying Arizona's offense is even worse. Talk about positive momentum. How about positive momentum? Arizona just beat Monday Night Football win in Dallas. Oh, no momentum there. 35-0 again, midway through the second quarter. 3 touchdowns on defense, 2 touchdowns they gave up on offense. Back to Kyler Murray, stick with Brissett. It really does not feel like it's going to end well in Arizona right now. Nothing feels right for the Cardinals, and I would not be surprised. Again, I'm not going to talk anyone out of laying 2.5 with the 49ers right now. A couple of books still have that number available.
All right, back to being sizable front runners to win the AFC North. The Baltimore Ravens are going to take on a divisional opponent in the Cleveland Browns. Teddy, talk to me about this Ravens team because Ariel Epstein's sitting right next to me, and she needs to know if she should get her hopes up or not.
Look at line, Baltimore -7.5, 41.5. My powering number, Baltimore -9. The market's open 8.5, 41.5 last night. And that's basically what we're seeing today. There are some 41s out there, but mostly 8.5, 41.5. So the markets haven't done a whole lot with this game just yet. We got to fire. It's the defense coordinator's fault, right? We got to fire Zach Orr. Well, after allowing more than 35 points a game over the first 5, the Ravens have now given up 15 points or less, 15 points per game in their last 4. They just held Justin Jefferson to 4 receptions for 37 yards on 12 targets. They forced 6 turnovers over the last 2 games. Remember, they only have 4 takeaways of the first 7 games. Well, it looks like Zach Orr is doing something right. Linebacker Kyle Van Noy, quote, we still have a lot of work to do, a lot of games left. We're enjoying the process of getting better, and I don't think we're taking what we're doing lightly. Kyle Hamilton, the Pro Bowl safety, quote, we're starting to hit our stride. It's not a surprise to us. We're playing to our potential now, and that's got to be sustained. And, of course, 3-game winning streak for Baltimore. Lamar Jackson, 100 career starts. Number of quarterbacks that have more wins than Lamar Jackson through 100 career starts. Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, Roger Staubach. Those are not guys that are bad to be in the same breath with. And maybe the best quote of the weekend. I love the quote from cornerback Marlon Humphrey. Quote, talking about the Ravens defense yesterday. Quote, That's been a big key. The mindset shift of, even though we have Lamar Jackson, let's give him a smoke break. Let's give him an off day. He bailed it out so many times. How about we do it? Defense obviously made big plays yesterday. The offense got outgained by more than a full yard per play. As for Cleveland, they were able to find a way to lose a game that Justin Fields had 42 net passing yards on 14 dropbacks. Judy, Fannin, Judkins, they don't have weapons. They got above 17 again. They had a 23-12 first down edge, but they allowed a kick return touchdown and a punt return touchdown. After the game, Kevin Stefanski, is he going to go to Shedeur Sanders? No, he's not. Quote, this is a young player, and we're always going to try to get one game better in these type of things. We have to play better as an offense. Myles Garrett, quote, frustration is frustration. Another locker room where there's offense and defense is not on the same page. Quote, frustration is frustration. You try your best not to point fingers. You just got to go out and clean up what you can. We've just got to be better. That's his way of throwing. Case is throwing the offense under the bus. The defense has played much better than the offense all season long.
All right, we got almost 3,000 of you guys watching us live here on the WagerTalk YouTube channel as well as social media. So shout out to you and special shout out to our insiders, wt.buzz/insiders to join. Just $2.99 a month gets you lots of early access to things like Bet on It, the Steam Room. We've got some more special things for those insiders in store as well. Teddy, really quickly before we hit these last few games, you are fresh off a Sunday sweep. I am very jealous. Let's hear what you got going on for this week in the NFL.
Yeah, it's been since week 4 since I had a Sunday sweep. So I was ready for it. I was due. And we got, the fourth quarters worked out very nicely in yesterday's contest. I'm in play for Monday Night Football tonight. Don't buy it. You can get it for free. Just look at the video on my homepage, wt.buzz/TC. I do have a single NBA best bet available for tonight. Number 1 at WagerTalk in NBA profits since 2022, up more than 220 units during that span. I may add an additional NBA play after the show is over, but I wanted to lock in for the 1 in early start action. So again, check out the homepage, wt.buzz/TC. And thank you so much for taking time out of your day to hang out with Kelly and I right here on Monday morning. We appreciate it.
I know I'm running long, but it's my host chair, so I'm going to ask the questions I want to ask. And I want to know why the Denver Broncos are 3.5-point underdogs here at home, Teddy. This is one of the best teams we've seen out of Denver in a very long time, but Kansas City continues to be power rated at such a high level.
Well, let's talk about it. Look ahead line. Chiefs -3, 45.5. My powering numbers, Chiefs -2.5. So my powering number agrees with your assessment. Markets open, KC -4, 3.5 last night as well. Total 44.5. And the 3.5s have mostly been bought up. Now it's KC -4. So it's certainly worth noting Andy Reid off a loss to the Bills and a bye week. If the season ended today, Kansas City loses the tiebreaker to Jacksonville, the number 7 seed, and they don't make the playoffs. So there's urgency for Kansas City right now. And Andy Reid, 22-4 off a bye week, 13-1 at Philadelphia, 9-3 in Kansas City. But I believe he's the most successful coach in NFL history off a bye. So that certainly factored into this number. And the markets are not respecting Denver. All right. They've won 5 times this season when they've lost a turnover battle. They're 8-2 this year, but they've trailed in all but 1 games. All right. They were able to win a game last week, but they had more penalties, 11, than first downs. They had 7 3-and-outs in 13 possessions. But people are forgetting the Denver defense. That defense didn't allow a first down for 7 straight Raiders possessions, keep it with a turnover on downs, interception, a block punt. Bo Nix, we got to do better. At some point, 10 points ain't going to be enough. We got to score more. We got to find some juice somewhere. And that concern about Denver's statistical profile is absolutely the reason, and the situation here for Kansas City is why we're seeing 4s for this game, not 3s, not 2.5s, and why my powering number feels short. But there are 2 schools of thought. The other school of thought here also is Denver. What have they won? 8 straight in a row? Or no, they won. They're 8-2. The only team sitting at 8-2 going to the game. The longest winning streak in a decade. They've won 10 in a row at home. And there's certainly a school of thought out there that, this team's not going to win every game forever. KC certainly a step up in class. KC hungry and focused. Broncos are not on my short list this week.
All right, a game that I'm very excited for. Next Sunday, we've got the Lions taking on the Philadelphia Eagles, but they got to get past the Packers tonight.
Yeah, well, the Eagles will play the Lions whether they get past the Packers or not. I'm pretty sure. I hope so. Minus 1.5, 48.5 was the look ahead line. My powering number minus 1.5. The markets opened 1.5 and 49 last night, and we're seeing 1.5 and 49 this morning. This line's not going to move at all until we see what happens on Monday Night Football. Philly will be 6-3 off a loss, 7-2 off a win. As for the Lions, we saw Jared Goff, 320 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. They had 226 rushing yards at 6.8 yards per carry. They didn't forget the playoff loss. They were doing playoff revenge to Washington. They bit some kneecaps. Again, 8.8 yards per play when the offense was when the starters were on the field, 44 points. Dan Campbell relieved offensive play calling duties from the offensive coordinator John Morton, and Campbell called a great game yesterday. But this line is only going to move based on what we see tonight. When how Philadelphia looks, they look good. We'll see Eagles money. They look bad. We'll see Lions money.
Yeah, I may be putting the Lions in a few teasers. Total's a little high for me, though. Monday Night Football, Teddy, and we're going to take us home into Wager Talk today with Andy Lang up next. The Raiders, just that team I can continue not to want to back here. Your thoughts on Monday Night Football?
Yeah, just real quick, I want to thank all you guys for watching. If you like this type of analysis, just hit that like button. We really appreciate it. Follow us. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe right now. Wager Talk TV, nearly 250,000 of you have subscribed already. And you get instant alerts every time these videos go live. We're putting out a shit ton of free content, of good free content every single day. So like, comment, subscribe. We appreciate it. Check out my homepage, www.buzz.com/TC. Look ahead line for Dallas and Las Vegas. The Cowboys, 3.5-point favorites, total of 50.5. My powering number came Dallas -4 for this ball game. Markets opened 3/3.5 last night. And I'm not seeing any threes out there now. I'm certainly not seeing many threes out there right now. Mostly 3.5s this morning. Total sitting at 50/50.5. I would not be surprised to see some under money come in, but I haven't seen any signs of it yet. So I'm not going to emergency betting alert this. But, I mean, the Cowboys, when you pick up Quinnen Williams, that makes a difference on your defense. It should. They rank 31st in the NFL in yards and points per game. In theory, off a bye, that defense should be a little bit better after what happened against Arizona and the previous game they got lit up as well. They'll have as many fans at Allegiant as the Raiders will, maybe more. A 3-5-1 team was a buyer at the trade deadline, which tells us they're not throwing the towel in on their season. As for the Raiders, I mean, everything's gone wrong for the Raiders this year. Found another way to lose a game that they could have won. Geno Smith because he used to be pretty awful. They've been held under 10 points 4 times this season. They've been held to fewer than 30 points in 29 consecutive games. Let's call it how it is. Chip Kelly's offense has been an absolute disaster. Oh, no, they've just fired a special team coordinator after Daniel Carson missed a field goal that that would have tied the game, and they never got the ball back after that. And Carlson had a field goal attempt blocked that would have won a game against the Bears, and he had an extra point that got missed in the 1-point loss against Jacksonville. So it's a Raiders team. It's hard to like anything that's going on with the Raiders right now. I'm surprised a little bit that the markets haven't crashed on them more, but it's not like the markets are excited about the 3-5-1 Cowboys right here coming off their own national TV debacle. That being said, Raiders ain't taking money. Cowboys the only team that has a chance to take money. If you like Dallas, again, you can find a -3 right now. I'm not convinced that'll be available for much longer. There's not enough of them out there for me to say, run, hurry, because there's 1 or 2 books that have the -3s. Everyone else already at -3.5.
All right. Thank you to Teddy Covers for all of his insight into NFL Week 11. We made it. We'll see you guys again here next week. Opening line report. No palm tree behind me then. Apologies. Again, shout out to all of you guys, including our Wager Talk insiders. We've got Wager Talk today with Andy Lang.